What's going on, guys? Vital Syntax here, and we are in a helicopter, specifically the UH-80 Ghost Hawk in Arma 3, and I'm going to be showing you how to do some of the helicopter controls if you're coming from Battlefield 3 specifically. So you want to open up your options and go into the controls, do the drop-down menu to helicopter movement, and copy these controls down into your game if you want to have a similar control experience. Essentially, they're the same controls that Battlefield 3 has by default. The actual mechanics of the helicopter are a little bit more realistic in this game, so it's not going to be exactly the same, but for the most part, the controls will be the same. The handling might not be perfectly there. So go ahead and copy this down if you're coming from Battlefield. The default controls are great, and but for me personally, if you're switching between different games that have helicopters like Battlefield and this game, it's really nice to have the same control set that way you're not used to one and then switching back and forth and accidentally crashing a helicopter, which is never a good thing. So we're going to go ahead and talk about some of the controls for some of the helicopters. You can see the detailedness of these interiors is just insane, how much detail they have set up in here. But one of the things you want to do with the helicopter is use auto hover, and that's, you can enable that by default by double tapping shift. So you'll see on the top left corner of the screen, if I double tap it, it shows up next to the distance from the ground. So I'm going to start spinning up the helicopter by holding W with my control scheme. And you usually want to have auto hover on when you're taking off, just to make it a little bit easier. You don't really need to use auto hover at all once you get more experienced with the flight controls. Landing and taking off are totally fine without it. But I'll show you exactly what it does. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it off. I'm going to start leaning forward with my chopper, and you'll see I start going forward. If I double tap shift, it'll enable it. It'll automatically enable kind of auto hover, and it'll balance me out so I'm perfectly balanced above the ground, making it really easy to ascend back down to the ground and land. Now, one thing you don't want to do is hit the ground hard. If you hit the ground hard, you do lots of damage to your chopper, and you can essentially blow the whole thing up and kill everybody inside of it. So you want to go down very, very slow once you get close to the ground, and then go ahead and land the chopper. You never want to come down fast, because that's just going to destroy the chopper, and it's really, really bad. So once you are off the ground, you can also see next to that that auto hover key, you have the distance from you to the ground measured in meters. So you can see as I go down, it goes down to 20. If I go up, it'll go up to 30. And you can also see next to that my speed. So if I start leaning forward, my kilometers per hour will start increasing. Now you can also see some of the instruments, like the hull, the engine, the instruments, and some of the other things like I think it's a motor and I don't know what the ATRQ is, but those are essentially the damage models for different parts of the helicopter. So certain things can get damaged if the hull of the ship gets damaged, if the engine goes out, if your instruments get screwed up, things like that. That'll kind of give you an idea of the damage of your chopper at any given time, and those will color code as you take more damage. Those will turn orangish and then yellow once you take a lot of damage. So you probably want to jump into the editor or do the helicopter showcase and just start flying around a bit. It's actually a little bit easier, I find, to fly in third person, just because you can get a little bit better peripheral vision. But if you want to do in first person, that's fine as well. But just go into the editor or do that mission and just start flying around the island and get used to the flight controls before you jump into a multiplayer server, before you do anything else with other people, because it can be really frustrating if you're in a multiplayer scenario. Same goes for Battlefield or any game, and if you take a chopper and just crash or something like that. And once you get used to those flight controls, whether you're using the default ones or you're using these similar to Battlefield controls, then eventually you'll be able to fly a helicopter pretty effectively. Now, if at any given time you want to check your map, it's usually a good idea to just double tap shift, and then you can check your map. That way, as long as auto hovers on, you can see if I come back to the ship, or not the ship, the helicopter, there's no real way that you're going to crash as long as auto hover is on, as long as you're not super close to the ground or any objects. And if you wanted to open up your map, maybe mark a spot on your map. To mark a spot, you just hold shift and click anywhere in your map. So we got our map marker set back to the airstrip here. We're going to go ahead and land, so I'll turn auto hover back off, and we'll start descending. I'm holding S right now so I can start lowering, doing a collective lower to get down closer to the ground. And then once we get close to the airbase, we want to start pulling up to slow our chopper down, or we could enable auto hover. Either one's fine. It just depends. If you're more comfortable with using auto hover, that's totally fine. In my case, I don't really need it anymore. And I like having the full control of the chopper. Now I also have it set up so A and D will effectively turn the chopper in any direction I want, which can be quite helpful. And we're just going to go ahead and slowly descend down to the ground. You also see I've got an air radar on the top of the screen. And we're not really going to talk about combat too much, specifically because my chopper doesn't even have... Well, it has miniguns on the side that you can see, but they're operated by different infantry. I don't actually have gun control as the pilot here. But there's some really cool weaponry you can get in some of the choppers as well in Arma. So now we're just getting close down to the ground. We want to start slowing down, and I'm going to go ahead and choose a spot. Let's go ahead and land in front of this hangar here. And you'll see once you get close enough to the ground that my landing gears will deploy, and you just want to slowly come down all the way to the ground, and there you go. You're good to go. Go ahead and scroll wheel, either turn off engine or just get out, and it should turn the engine off by itself if you're the pilot. And the engine will slowly stop and come to a halt. So those are some of the suggestions for controls for Arma 3 and the helicopter controls, and also I just guess some general tips and pointers for controlling the helicopters in the game. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this basic tutorial. If you did, feel free to leave a like or a favorite, or check out some of the other tutorials I did recently on the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.